Well, welcome to our CCS parent meeting. My name is Matthew Bouck. I currently serve as the president of the school board. This is my term is ending, and for next year, Rynne Gentry, who has fled, will take over as CCS board president. First of all, I want to thank you so much for taking time out on a Tuesday night to come out. We're here in the Four Oaks facility because right now in the auditorium, the CCS production team is working very hard on Your Good Man, Charlie Brown, starting, I believe, May 1st. And there are flyers out there. I'd also like to say a special word to Mrs. Grubb's third grade class, which provided all the refreshments, the cookies, and the I'm going to make myself sick on cookies in Mrs. Grubb's line. We're getting close to the end of school. It's an exciting time for those of you who have a child that is entering one of those transition points from kindergarten to elementary, from elementary to the other side of the oak, which seems like a million miles away, over to secondary. And then, like our family, for those who have a student who's starting high school. It's an exciting and anxious time. We hope that you leave this meeting with a renewed sense of the amazing experience your children have at CCS. For those of us who have younger children, who their education is kind of on the front end, some of us don't really see the benefits and don't see some of the outcomes of the amazing experience of the students who have in CCS. But in talking to parents who have students who have graduated or are soon to be graduating, kind of on the back end of that K-12 education, to a person, they tell me that they see the benefit. They see the benefit of what CCS has done for them, for the young men and young women they have become, and for the profession, for the schooling, for the careers that they've embarked on. And so it's exciting for me as I see my son moving on into high school, just the young man he's becoming because of the home, because of CCS, and just looking forward to some of the students who have graduated thinking, wow, that's an amazing thing that CCS has done for them. So Tom, David, Ginny, Pam, ultimately Rynne, and I, there we go. We're going to tell you some of the great things that are going on at CCS. And you see in your program, there's going to be some time, an ample amount of time, for questions and answers, hopefully answers, at the end. So before we get started, we can open with a word of prayer.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we are deeply, deeply grateful for your faithfulness to us this school year. And not just this school year, but many years. However we find ourselves, whatever our situation is as we come tonight, Father, one thing we know, and that is, as your children, you are present with us in our circumstances, in our hopes and dreams and our challenges. And Father, we come to you tonight to do a number of things. We come to celebrate. We come to talk about challenges. We come to talk about, really, to give you glory. You have been faithful to be present at CCS for 30-some years, and that is an amazing blessing. So, Lord, we pray that by the end of the meeting tonight, folks will leave with their questions answered, with clarity in their mind and in their hearts. We love you, Lord, and we thank you in advance for what you are doing. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, I think many of you know by now that Community Christian School is about to conclude its 36th year of operation. From the time Hal and Schendel and other young dreamers in Christian Covenant Community Church in 1977 opened the doors, they focused on a single mission, and that is teaching children to see the world through the eyes of Jesus Christ. Today we say it a little differently. We're called to train up young, visionary leaders to answer the call of God whenever it comes, wherever it leads, and whatever it costs. By developing renewed and skillful minds, strong hands to serve, and burning hearts for Jesus. The words might be different, but the themes are exactly the same. Critical thinking, biblical view of all of life, and wise leadership, I think we would all agree, are even more necessary today than they were in 1977 when the school was founded. And these are and remain the clear focus of this school. Because of that, it was deeply gratifying for us to note in the recent parent survey a lot of really great information, a lot of great data. Some of that you'll hear tonight. But one of the most gratifying things, to me at least, was that the majority of parents really do feel that we are accomplishing this mission. And that's good, because that is our main goal. At the same time, there were a lot of things identified that can be improved, and we are dedicating ourselves again and again in a renewed way to doing just that, to address those things. There's a lot of wonderful things you'll hear tonight about what's going on at CCS. And there's also going to be some significant challenges that we'll talk about that face us in this young century. You're going to hear about both sorts of things tonight. I pray that when you leave, you'll be encouraged by God's faithfulness, by the great work of the team of employees that God's brought together, the staff, the board, volunteers at CCS, and how we as servants are doing the best that we know how to do before the Lord to serve you and your children. And of course, as Matt said, we really want to hear from you tonight. Really the main thing tonight is hearing from you, so that as you ask questions, we respond. It's really, really important to us to try to listen to what you are saying tonight. And so we'll do that at the end of the evening. Just before I turn it over to the administrative team to start talking about some of the CCS highlights, I just want to spend just a moment and tell you publicly how rewarding it has been to work with this team of educational professionals for many, many years. They're a fabulous group of people. And as I come to the end of my tenure at CCS, and I reflect on God's faithfulness, I'm reminded of their faithfulness. And I can't speak, there's no way I can speak highly enough about the professionalism, the intelligence, the dedication, and the faithfulness of these administrators and the faculty at Community Christian School. They continue to work tirelessly, and I mean tirelessly, to improve the educational experience that we deliver for you and for your family. And that's our goal, and that's what we desire to do. So I want to say to you, well done. Thank you for your hard work. Go ahead and turn it over to the two ladies of the group here, and they're going to talk to you about the elementary program and some of the highlights.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. We're going to share a little bit about things that are going on in the elementary program. And I know from talking to many of you that some of you have no idea what happens during the school day. Your children don't tell you very much. Mrs. Hollingsworth and I have been sharing this job really for 6 years. And every day, one of the things we do is we walk through, we go to all the classrooms, and on most days, it is a very routine in and out situation. But when we put our heads together and started talking about this year and things we wanted to share, highlights, we were able to come up with some. And these are the things that we wanted to share. These are the moments that kind of take our breath away as we come in and out and interact with the children. These are the moments that we might realize right then how profound it is, or it may be later that we sort of start to put it together. And we know, one of the things we know from the survey is how you value biblical integration, but sometimes you're not real sure how that works. And so we're going to share what we call snapshot moments, and the first two have to do with biblical integration. I'm going first, and we're going to talk a little bit about something that happens every year in May in the second grade class when the butterflies arrive. And I call this Butterfly Parents because we watch our second grade students turn into parents of this little plastic cup on the corner of their desk. And they arrive as larvae, and each student gets the ones that are passed out, and they start taking care of them, and they watch over them, and they worry about them, just like real parents. And they name them. And I asked Mrs. Garvin what she thought this year's names would be. And she said there would probably be, she's predicting, 6 of them will be named Jameis Winston. And many of them will be named after the cast of Frozen. And so, but that's just what's going on in science. What's going on parallel to that is the biblical integration. And what that looks like in this unit is talking about things like new life in Christ, transformation, new birth. What an amazing way to connect these spiritual truths with these second graders. So they'll be here, the butterflies or the little cups will be here soon, so we're looking forward to that.
Another real-life example of biblical integration, I think, is just kids being able to learn, for example, in 5th grade, learn about geography, and at the same time learn about how the scripture kind of impacts geography. It's woven into the lessons in the classrooms. Daily, these classrooms pray for countries around the world. They use Operation World. They watch videos about people groups. They hear the people. They hear their needs. And they learn specific things they can pray for those groups. They get together in small groups and pray for them. In addition, they are learning geographical information about those countries, population, where they're located. They have a big, huge world map, and they are able to mark those things on that map. So it gives them a real tangible way to see the world around them and connect with that world through prayer and through concern for other people.
My next example comes from the Elementary Spiritual Formation Program. We have Bible instruction going on in the classroom. We have community chapel going on Wednesday mornings. But on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, we have what we call teaching chapel. And you may not even know this, but this year we're trying something called the New City Catechism that comes out of the Redeemer Church and the Gospel Coalition. And it's a question-answer format. There are 52 questions and answers. You can, in fact, download the app if you'd like to, because there's great videos for you to watch, great videos for kids to watch. Did you know that your elementary student at this point knows 36 of the 52 question and answers? Another great thing is that they've memorized several passages of Scripture, and the most amazing moments in chapel come when the kids all of a sudden get it. They connect what they've memorized with what's going on in their heart, and that is an amazing moment in chapel.
And to kind of tack on to that is my favorite highlight of the whole entire week in elementary school is our community chapel that we celebrate on Wednesdays. All of our kids, kindergarten through 5th, gather together. Our office staff comes sometimes. PE coaches, art, everybody that's involved in our elementary school comes together, and parents come and join us too. And we just get to watch the Lord work through worship and watching these kids, seeing young children just with abandon freely worship the Lord, just quite refreshing for me. We've also had guest speakers, a praise and worship band. We've gotten to know more about some pastors in our community. They've come and shared with us. A few weeks ago, we had a really unique chapel in which we had 6 of our 5th graders come up and give personal testimonies about the ways that God had met them during a difficult experience they had at space camp. And these are their words. Quote, remember, they're 10 and 11 years old. God was so present in this moment for me. My faith grew stronger through this experience. And my very favorite one, I am so happy I learned Scripture in chapel when I was younger, and that I had saved it in my heart for a time such as this.
The next one has to do with, this one was one that kind of came together for me gradually. This is my last snapshot that I'll be sharing about. And one of the things we had to do this year for the accreditation team was define what mentoring looked like at community chapel. Not at community Christian school. And many public schools have formal mentoring programs because they want to know that every child has an adult they could go to on campus if they ever needed to talk or whatever. So I started to think, well, what does that look like in the elementary school at community Christian? So I started looking around and watching, and this has been going on all along. It really should have occurred to me way before now. But as I began to observe, I was really blessed by seeing the rich relationships that the kids have with the adults. If you go out on the playground and you watch the kids, they are perfectly comfortable going up to any adult on the playground and talking to them, telling them their whatever's, tattling, whatever. But that level of comfort is there. And once a child has come through a certain grade level, they are always connected to the teacher in that grade level. And I've had a really daily example of that this year, and this is I call my good morning example. We have a young lady who is in 3rd grade this year, which, as you know, in the elementary building is all the way down the hall. She comes in the door every morning, but she does not go straight to 3rd grade. She stops off first in 2nd grade to tell Mrs. Garvin good morning. Then she goes to 3rd grade. And as I've listened to, my office is right across the hall, as I've seen this happen morning after morning after morning, I'm going, that is mentoring. That is mentoring in a Christian school. She loves her teacher the year before, and her teacher loves her. So they keep their relationship going. And I've seen that again and again and again.
And the last little moment here is a moment that I experienced probably about 3 or 4 months ago. It was on a Friday morning, and I walked into the classroom first thing in the morning. The class had just gotten their smart board, their Promethean board the day before. So it was new and it was hanging on the wall. Walked in and just sat down, and the teacher allowed each student in the class to take the stylus, go up and choose their color, go up to the smart board and write their name on the board. So she did that for all the kids in the class. Then she walked up, she wrote her name on the board, just to kind of let them enjoy it. She stood back for a moment, paused, and kind of looked around the room, and she said, there's someone in our class whose name is not on the board. And I kind of thought, I wonder who she's talking about. So we all stood, kind of waited for a moment. She walked up to the board, picked up the stylus, and at the very top of the board, in huge letters, she wrote Jesus across the top. And then she turned around to the class and said, his name is above every name. And what a visual picture for me as an adult, and also for these kids, that hopefully they'll never forget wherever they go that his name is above every name. Just meant a lot to me. I thought too, before we go any further, I want to just, when we mentioned community chapel, just encourage you guys, those of you that come out, thank you so much. It means a lot to us to have you all there every week. Just so you know, every student in elementary school, kindergarten through 5th grade, is involved in some way in leading in our chapel. We have pledge leaders, we have prayer leaders, worship leaders. So we'd love for you to come out and just be a part of that. For next year, we've got a couple things we thought we'd just mention tonight before we pass it off to our fellows. Some of you may know that if you have elementary school students, you may know that we have a program called Quest. It's for our 4th and 5th grade students. Once a week, they come. It's an enrichment area for them to choose an area of interest that they'd like to explore and learn more about. Some of the classes they've had an opportunity to be a part of are beginning Greek, advanced drawing, painting. They've had team handball and tennis. Etiquette was one. Drama. We've had book club. We've had chess club. Sticks and rhythm. And most recently, this go around, we even have some kids participating in folk dancing. That was a big hit. We hope next year to expand that program to include some other grades rather than just 4th and 5th grades, but they can also be a part. If you guys have a talent or a gifting, or you know someone who does, who may want to help contribute to the Quest program once a week, let me know. That would be great. You can email me or call me in school. Another thing I wanted just to mention tonight is you've probably read a little bit in our parent news and heard some about our Math and Focus program that we've been using. This year it's now expanded 1st through 5th grade. We've been really encouraged by the level of problem solving and critical thinking that the kids are doing. Math and Focus uses real world problems for kids to experience, also hands-on experiences with manipulatives, which I personally really like. If you go into a math class, go into a classroom and they're teaching math, you're going to see lots of energy, some positive attitudes, lots of excitement. Students are raising their hand, wanting to share their strategies to solve a challenging problem. We also have a Right Trades program, which is 1st through 5th this year too. Kids are learning how to become more skilled in their writing and confident in their writing. Both of those programs we will open up and expand down to our kindergartners for next year, so we'll have kindergarten through 5th doing the same things in writing and in math, which we're happy about. I like to think of kindergarten students as our youngest scholars, and so we want them to be a part of the same things their older folks are doing. Another thing I want to mention for next year is it's our intention next year to bring Spanish back into the elementary school program, which we're excited about doing that. We haven't had that in a while, but we want to provide an opportunity for the students to understand and appreciate another language and just to explore other cultures. On a personal note, I'm glad my friend in Schoolfield is staying here with me. On a personal note, I just wanted to share, just briefly, this ministry has been a part of my life for many, many years. In fact, 20 years ago, I brought my own children to CCS as a parent. My husband and I wanted to find a school that would partner with us, and when we came here, we knew this is where our kids needed to be. I did spend several years as a public school teacher. In the past 15 years, I've been at CCS. I taught at CCS, served as the educational services coordinator here, and then working alongside Ms. Schoolfield most recently. I'm excited to be in this job. I told several of you that it's almost like becoming a mother. I'm excited and I'm nervous, but I do count it a privilege and an honor to co-labor with parents and with teachers in educating young children. I love the kids that are at CCS, and I also think we have a fabulous team of teachers here too. I really want to love your children well, and I hope to be able to impact them outside just of the walls of the classroom. And in closing, I will share with you my greatest joy. My greatest joy is to watch children love God more than anything else, to see them freely worship Him, and then to endeavor to live a holy life for Christ. Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, Mike. I'm David Pinson. I'm secondary principal, and that should happen to a secondary principal. They should always get the first laugh line. I begged Tom and Jeff to come up and do that with me, and they turned me down resolutely. So I'm going to go on my own tonight. As an elementary parent, that was amazing to hear that. You know, I have a first grade little girl, and to know that she knows more of New City Catechism than I do is impressive. I wanted to talk with you a little bit tonight just about the secondary program. And I wanted to focus a little bit on kind of how we're out in the community. Maybe some things that you're unaware of. Maybe you read them in parent news and you've forgotten them. I could have put together a tremendous laundry list here tonight of things that, in my mind, are impressive. But I selected a few just so that you could see sort of the ways we're trying to endeavor to be more focused on getting out in the community. And there's no particular order in these events, so I'm just going to read through them with you. You may not know this, but we have 3 8th grade boys that put together a documentary on Hiroshima, and they entered the county history fair. They won at the county history fair, and now they're going to the state fair, which is coming up very soon. In other sort of academic contests, our high school Spanish program went in February to the local Foreign Language Expo and took first place. And there were other notable schools there. You can fill in the blanks. So we have a great language program. We have a great history program. The other thing that we have started doing in the curriculum program is implementing new writing, new math programs. I'm going to talk a little bit about that more in just a moment. We've continued to be out in the community doing service learning in middle school in particular. We were there today. As a matter of fact, if you see Jeff or some of the others that are kind of sunburnt because they were out doing all manner of things for a local ministry, blessing them with that. And the kids were learning things. You know, when we go on these events, one of the hardest things, I had a parent tell me this, and she said, one of the hardest things is I want to do this work. And we tell them, no, don't do the work. It's their job. We're just here to keep them safe and to help them learn how to do it better. We've not only done that as middle school locally, we've done it nationally. When we went to Washington, D.C., we served in suburban Washington, D.C., along with some of the high schoolers, and had an after-school program there. We have done that for the last 3 times we've been to Washington. It's our desire to form relationships with people. We're not the great hope that comes in and rescues. We're the people that want to live and walk alongside other ministries, and we want to bless you. Because when we bless you, it blesses us. It's not the reason why we do it. It's because we wanted to share the gospel with these people. So we've been out in the community in the middle school. In the high school, we just had an amazing trip to Panama. And this Friday or soon there will be a chapel where we'll celebrate that transformational experience with these high schoolers. I saw a young man in church on Sunday, and I walked up to him and just I interrupted a conversation. Didn't mean to do that. I said, "Tell me about Panama." He just said one word. He said, "Awesome." That's all I needed to hear. He said, "I'll hear about it the rest of it in chapel." So we're going out and we're being salt and light in the community, taking the things we're learning in the classroom and going out and doing. And I think that's really what we're called to do. As we look at some of the other programs, co-curricular programs, athletics. I don't know if you know this, but we participated in district competition with Florida High School Activity Association in at least, let me make sure I get this right, because one was looking at me, 4 sports. We participated in cross-country, swimming, tennis, and track and field in districts. In swimming, we earned a spot to regionals. In tennis, we won at district. We had 2 individuals that competed at state, and we had 2 individuals, and also at doubles, and we competed at regionals. In track and field, we did well at districts. We sent someone to regionals. And one of the things that you should know with our track and field team, it's made up of 6th through 10th graders, and there were times when they were competing against juniors and seniors. They comported themselves well. In the arts, we've had much success there. We've done 1 production. We're doing a 2nd production now with our drama program. We have a student in the high school that did well at solo and ensemble, and so when she went to district and state honor band for the 2nd time, we also have 2 productions that we've done so far this year with our vocal ensemble. We have dance, another production that's coming up very soon for their spring production. So the arts, we're getting out into the community. We're trying to be salt and light. As we look to the future here for next year, just want to remind you of a couple of things. We're always looking to improve. And we've even started doing that this year. You may not know this. If you're a high school parent, hopefully this will be exciting to you. We started this last night, actually. We have employed a specific person in guidance to actually help 9th through 12th graders have more success in getting into various colleges, not just Florida State, not just Florida, but colleges around the nation, helping them try to locate scholarships, helping them try to do resumes, put together essays. We've started that now in guidance in the high school. We're also developing a library. It's a small one, but we're developing a library over in the secondary building with volumes for the kids to access. And if you look in Parents Web, we've tried to give you access to all of the electronic resources for the library that you can access not only here at school, but at your house. We're trying to improve the educational program even this year. By next year, we're looking to make some more specific changes in the middle school in particular and in the high school forthcoming. We're going to try to add a new vocabulary program to the middle school next year, emphasizing Greek and Latin elements. We are going to continue implementing the third stage of our math program, which was the math and focus that they mentioned. And, because you asked, we're going to implement a Spanish program in the elective cycle for middle school. Applause line here. Well, I want to kind of complete my time with you just briefly. As you might imagine, this has been a very interesting season in our house. And as I have thought about this evening, kind of speaking to you about next year from my vantage point, you also have to remember that this is the first time in a long time that things are going to change for me in a very dramatic way. At this time last year, I could tell you exactly what I was going to be doing, exactly what I was planning, what I needed to do. And now I can tell you that I'm praying a lot, and I'm asking the Lord to reveal to me how I can serve you better. But many of you may have only seen me in events like this. Have you heard me speak once or twice at some sort of program? But you really don't know who I am. And so I thought I would try to do that really briefly tonight. As I stand here, I'm not just an administrator. I'm a parent. Next year I'll have a kindergartner. I'll have an elementary student. Actually, I have 2 elementary children. One of my sons goes to DeSoto. I have an elementary student, and I'll have a middle schooler. I'll have a 2nd grader, 8th grader, and kindergarten. So if you've got extra sort of padding on your knees, you now know how to use it for the Pinson family because we need prayer with our 4 kids being at 4 different levels. So I'm invested in a different way, not just because I'm employed here. I've been here for 18 years. I came right out of college almost being here. As a matter of fact, I have a quick story to tell you. This is known by very few people, so you're going to get your money's worth tonight. When I first applied to teach here, Bama and I came for an interview on the first day of our honeymoon. True story. We were leaving to go to Canada, Niagara Falls, like that afternoon, and I came here for an interview. Now, I didn't get hired, and they should be ashamed. After that effort. But I came back in the spring of 1995, and I've been here ever since. So I've been here a while. And as I was thinking about what I was going to tell you, I focused my comments around the fact that I have worked with these 3 people most all of my time. I have worked with Ginny, and I have sat and listened to her wisdom and her wise counsel on various matters about the elementary program. I know her heart for it. I know her passion for it. I've had kids that have been served by it. And so I feel like in that relationship with her, it prepares me a little better for next year. I have sat in many meetings with Pam, and I have seen her work with parents and kids who learn differently in ways that amaze me. I know her heart and her passion for education, and I feel like that helps prepare me. I work with Tom. Tom and I were the first 2 men here, like when there was only the 2 of us, And so we've been through a lot together, but his guidance, invaluable perspective, godly character, love of learning, passion for the Lord have thoroughly influenced me and have been a seminal part of my development as a young teacher, administrator, and leader. They have shaped me, and they have shaped your kids, and that should mean something. There's 3 things that I think that I've told people when they've asked me, what can you bring to the table? And I really feel like these are from the Lord, and you may disagree, but you can talk to him if you do. I think the first thing I can bring to this is the sense of stability during this transition. I've been invested here for a long time. I've spent the best parts of my life here, and I want to see nothing more than this place continue to succeed and flourish. So stability, security, not in me. We get our security from the Lord, ultimately. But from the realization that as I work with the board and with others in the process of securing the next headmaster to lead CCS, I'm hoping to secure a foundation for this place into the future. I don't know who that's going to be. If you do, come tell me, because we'll call them. But security. And then finally, shepherding. Continue to shepherd the faculty, the staff, and the students entrusted to me at CCS. I've shepherded students and considered it a high calling for most of my adult life. I work with 7th graders today, and it was a privilege. It was a privilege to get out and watch them do things with little supervision, per se, but little supervision, and be able to be the people that we know that they can be one day by God's grace. And I've done that for a while. I want to continue shepherding. It's your job, but I want to help you with it. So those are the 3 things. And as you leave tonight, there may still be plenty of things you're wondering about me. Don't be too worried about it. I'm not that exciting, so you're not missing much. But I hope you hear my heart. If you left here tonight, I hope you heard my heart. And I'm going to read this. I'm not one to read presentations, but more than this, I hope you trust our sovereign Savior all the more. That is where your hope should be. It should be in nothing else. And if it is, it has to change. While to us next year may seem elusive, to Him it is a memory. And He is absolutely certain that it is exactly the way He wants it. Absolutely certain. I take great solace in that, and I trust you do as well. I look forward to engaging you to the best of my ability. I look forward to serving you to the best of my ability. I think that's something I've always done. But I look forward to deepening that a little more next year. And I do ask for your prayers for this process. You know, I want to have the next Hal Schendel be here. So that as we look to the next 30 years, we'll be able to say that God was good in that moment. And this is exactly what He wanted. I'm going to transition over to, I guess it's Matt.
Thank you. Well, I want to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about, get a perspective on CCS enrollment, that fun part. And it's one of the things that the administration and the board looks at constantly in terms of how can we make sure that as many students as possible can get the education that is offered at CCS. So I'd be remiss without sharing some of the blame with my fellow board members. If the current board members, if you would either stand, raise your hand just so everyone can see who you are, current board member. Thank you. So if you see someone, board member near you, so feel free to corner them at some point and ask them whatever. Also on stage. For those of you who may not be immersed in education all the time, education in America is changing. School choice, control over the educational experience is a primary thing that seems to be a trend in education. Even at the post-secondary level, we see this control over education. Education not based on credit hours, but based on master and competencies. It's all about the choice. What this means nationally, and what we see nationally, is that there has been a decline in private school enrollment. Over the last decade, about 1 million fewer students in private schools across the country. Research has shown that some of the reasons, and these are borne out in Florida also, the rise in home education, the rise in charter schools have had an impact on enrollment. The recession wasn't necessarily a cause for some of these declines, but it just has accelerated the trend from about 2007, 2008. And so we see this in Florida even more so. Florida has a strong history of educational reform, trying to innovate some of these things. So Florida takes very seriously school choice, home education, charter schools. In the past 5 years, we've seen Florida public school enrollment has increased about 2%. So really very modest growth for the increases in total Florida population. Charter school enrollment in that same time, in the past 5 years, has increased about 53%. Home education enrollment has increased about 24% in that same time period. And what we have seen, and this has been reflected in a lot of schools nationally, is CCS enrollment in that same time has decreased about 24%. And you may have seen that in the past several years, the effect over the past few years of this school choice on our enrollment. So what does this mean for CCS? Well, what it doesn't mean is a retreat from our identity and mission. So while at a public school, the focus may be on preparing students to be active participants and consumers in a society that bases success based on wealth or other outward measures of happiness, God's overarching goal is to make himself and his glory known. So that all instruction, whether it's the humanities, the natural sciences, that is not an end in itself. It's rather to improve a student to be a follower of Christ and a servant of God. So no matter where our students go, we're going to consider this success. That if our students are doctors and lawyers and bankers and nurses and teachers or pastors or missionaries, if they are, CCS will train them for professional excellence, but more importantly, are going to train them for a lifetime of service to God. We also know that God has been faithful to CCS for these past 35 years. From its beginning with a fledgling church to the decision to become an independent Christian school. From purchasing that great, fantastic primary building that we have, to building the pavilion. God has been faithful to CCS, and by his grace will continue to be faithful, and we are excited by the future. But it does mean with decreasing enrollment, we do face increasing pressures to continue to provide the services with fewer tuition dollars. We've always had that gap. Most schools have that gap between tuition and the full cost of instruction. Typically 80-85% of the full cost is covered by tuition, with donations, other fundraising making up that gap for that full cost. We've had a number of really very generous donors in the past year that have allowed us to do a number of things. Some things with physical plant. My little car is thankful every time I'm driving in the parking lot now that I don't get up. So, very thankful for that. Other things with in technology and in marketing. Tom's going to talk about that for a moment, a little bit later. Security. But we have other necessary needs, short-term, long-term, to bridge that gap. But even there, God has provided. We've had an asset that most people don't know about as much as a cell tower can fly under the radar. But we have an asset that through a lot of prayerful negotiation, we were able to sell the lease that we held on the land for that cell tower. So those funds will be able to provide some necessary improvements to CCS, can provide funding for programs that we see that might be able to improve enrollment, retention, and recruitment. And it's also going to help bridge some of those financial gaps we have in the coming years. So again, it's one of those things where we have a need, and God just plants this asset smack dab in the middle of campus and says, here you go, here it is. Now during this transition time, use it well, use it for my glory. But while we have this, we still need to increase our enrollment. We still need to find long-term alternate sources of funding. Having more students isn't just about tuition. It's also about we need to get more kids. The things that we've heard here, we need to get more students to experience that amazing education. So we continually pray, strive towards God's plan, and we need to find a way to get everyone involved in that plan. From giving to CCS, to telling others about what CCS has done for your family, for your children. That's our continual question. Have you re-enrolled your children at CCS? And have you told others about what CCS has done for your family? One of the tools we've had has been this survey that's been referenced. We found some interesting things, some reinforcing some of the things we already knew, and some new information. Most of us, it's interesting, most of us came from public school environments, as I did. So it's interesting that one of the things that we're doing that I feel is giving my children a gift that is taking me a lifetime to develop, and that's a biblical worldview. Something that my family life, my school never gave me, but seeing that in my children, especially my youngest, oh my goodness, it's just amazing. And it's a gift. It's an absolute gift. Most of us enroll our children at CCS primarily for that integration of a Christian worldview at the school. But we found a couple other points that really reinforce. One of the second most primary reason for enrolling in CCS was the recommendation of a trusted friend or family member. And we found that the most effective way that or the most effective method of advertising for CCS was by relationship. 70% of the people who said that they enrolled was because of a relationship, more so than surfing the web or driving by the school. It's about relationships. We need to ensure that we are telling others about the experience here. We've also, as Tom mentioned before, there's a lot of things that we found that are great. Parents said, do this better, or either stop doing this, or change what you're doing. And we're looking at this. We've got a lot of really great suggestions that the board, the administration, are going to go through. We hope to, it's a very long, involved survey, but we hope to have some analysis and synthesis of this and make that available. So you can also see some of the great comments that we received. One of the things, and I'll wrap up here. One of the things that the board is also going to be heavily involved with in the coming year, as we have the great leadership from Pam and David, it is also to search for a new headmaster. And that's really one of our primary goals in this coming year. And so I'd like to have Rynne, thank you. Rynne, come up and just say a few words about the headmaster search process.
Upon hearing of Tom's retirement from CCS, the board began discussing the search for a new headmaster, both the search and the qualifications that this new headmaster would need. It's very important for us to find a headmaster who will continue the mission of the school, as Tom has done so beautifully in the last 20 plus years. But we also needed someone who could lead us in this time of changing educational environment that Matt spoke of. So in doing this, we determined that we did not have an amount of time that we could do this to have somebody in place for the 14-15 school year. So at that point, we decided that an interim was the way to go. And we were so fortunate to have someone right here at CCS who was so very qualified to lead CCS during this transition time. And the board with David, we have already begun conversations about this for next year, and we are just very excited about his leadership. We believe that having David in this position will provide us with continuity, stability, that our mission and our curriculum will need during this time, and this momentum that we've already started building with the marketing and the new recruitment efforts and all that we've had underway during this year. Once we had that leadership role with David in place, then we started directing our attention toward headmaster search. And at this time, what we are doing is we are gathering and we are talking to different people so that we can build a committee. And from that committee, we'll then choose, or within that group, choose someone who will lead that group. We, right now, myself and other board members will kind of shepherd the process along until we do choose a chair. And in that process of identifying and asking members, we're looking for parents, past and present, faculty, again, past and present, staff, board members. And our goal is to have this committee in place so that they can begin meeting by the end of this year. And then they'll have the summer and the fall to put together all the documentation that they'll need about our school profile and our headmaster position. And then they'll begin the next step, advertising and identifying candidates. And once we've done that, we'll again call our parents together, our CCS community, and allow everybody to have that input on the candidates that have come forward for this. So our intent is to have a new headmaster in place for the 15-16 school year. Thank you very much.
Well, we are finally coming to the close of our evening together, and hopefully you've kind of been thinking of some questions that you would like to ask. Before we go into question and answer time, though, I want to spend just a moment, and I actually would like to just tell you a very brief story. So if you will indulge me for just a moment. I want to tell you a story about a young girl named Emily. One day, many years ago, I was walking into a freshman biology 1 class that I happened to be teaching that year. And Emily, always an astute young woman, asked me something about what we were going to do in class, which is the common question that students ask teachers every day. What are we doing today? Well, being every bit as much an out-of-the-box thinker as I am today, I responded, well, I've decided to set the text aside to be used as one resource among many, and we're going to learn science firsthand through laboratory field investigation teams, or LFITs. Many of the high school kids will talk to you about my penchant for acronyms, and I thought this was a wonderful idea. And I said the course frameworks will serve as a guide for us, and we'll post them on the wall, and as we go through a particular framework, we will just check it off, and won't it be wonderful? Emily, 9th grade at the time, looked at me with sparkling eyes and said, well, Mr. A, that sounds really hard, but it sounds like it would be fun. So let's do it. And so we did. Years later, Emily was quoted as saying, that was one of the hardest classes that I've ever taken, but it's one where I learned a tremendous amount. Emily was willing to be challenged to do hard things for the purpose of being better prepared to fulfill her God-given calling in life. So, let's fast forward real quick to spring 2014, almost 20 years later. A connection is made with Emily once again. This time, she is a CCS alumna, and she is living in New York City. And so the connection was made through a series of events that I won't go into right now, but I can tell you could only have been designed by God. So the relationship is renewed, and Emily agrees to participate in a new marketing campaign that we've developed for the school. And that marketing campaign is focusing on CCS providing education that prepares young men and women for the real world. Even the rough and tumble world of elite New York City financial institutions and global nonprofits. Well, the result of all this is a television commercial, and a short film shot and produced in Emily's backyard, literally, in New York City, by a local company that we have come to love called Frame. And most wonderful of all, it eventually dawned on the guys at Frame while they were working on the narrative that Emily's last name is Schendel. And she just happens to be the granddaughter of Hal and Marilyn Schendel. And they honestly did not know this at the beginning of the process. You really can't make that kind of thing up. God is truly amazing. And so we wanted to take a moment here at the end of our program before we do the question and answer for you to take a look at the short film that I believe is a powerful narrative that captures in bold relief why CCS is the best choice for a family who is looking for a world-class education that will enable a young man or a young woman to literally impact the world. So we'll give a look to Emily's film.
Solve a problem and come out with the right answer. I was in 5th grade when I think I maybe realized that I was good at it. My teacher, Mrs. Kayworth, really encouraged me and allowed me to do both the 5th grade and 6th grade curriculum in 1 year. She kind of went out of her way to help us do the entire 5th grade curriculum before Christmas, and then she went ahead I think I've always liked math. I've always liked that it's very logical, that you follow a set of rules, that you can solve a problem and come out with the right answer. I was in 5th grade when I think I maybe realized that I was good at it. My teacher, Mrs. Kayworth, really encouraged me and allowed me to do both the 5th grade and 6th grade curriculum in 1 year. She kind of went out of her way to help us do the entire 5th grade curriculum before Christmas, and then she went ahead and learned and taught us the 6th grade curriculum after Christmas, so that we kind of got bumped up a year. So I guess that's where it started. I work for a major public internet company, and then my night job is working on 100 Cameras, which is a nonprofit that I founded with 4 friends. We give cameras to kids living around the world and teach them photography, then sell their photos to raise money for their communities. It's a fun position to be in, to be able to make someone's ideas become a reality. One of the things that I think I learned at CCS was that I can use my interest in math to help other people. I could help my friends start a nonprofit. I could help businesses figure out their business model and plan. I could help children around the world learn photography, and I could help the community in New York experience that photography and experience a worldview that they might not otherwise ever experience. The great thing about a small school is having teachers who really know you, who can push you and encourage you in directions that you might not otherwise go, whether it's exploring a new skill or trying out for an athletic team, or if it's encouraging you in math, like it was for me, and saying, go ahead, do the next year's math curriculum in 1 year. And that's ultimately the first step that put me on my journey to majoring in finance and then living in New York.
It's a darn good film. It really is. Let's pray. And then we go to question and answer time. Father, just thank you for being faithful to do what we've asked you to do tonight, which is to be present here and to perhaps open our eyes to some things we maybe didn't see very well before. So we just ask you, God, to continue to be present here in this question and answer time. Thank you for Emily and her really very open willingness to open up her life with little provocation to share about her experiences. Thank you, Lord. And may this film be used just powerfully to bring families to CCS. We just thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
So when I said ample time for questions and answers, I meant 7 minutes. However, we will, as long as you're here and have questions, we will stay and answer. So if we go after the 8:15, people start peeling away, we'll be here as long as you want, but I think. What I'm going to do is, if you have a question, I'm going to go ahead and repeat it, the question, just for one thing, so everyone can hear the question, but also we are recording this, and so we're going to make this recording available to anyone who was not able to attend, so they'll be able to hear the question as well. One of the things we're also going to do, the staff get questions all the time about various things. What we'd like to do is take the questions that have been answered tonight, take whatever other questions that we know are out there that maybe you just didn't think to ask tonight, or questions staff has gotten, and put together a Q&A and make that available to everyone as soon as possible, just so people can see the questions that were answered, and maybe there's a question that you didn't even know you had, and hopefully we'll answer it before you even knew you had it. So if we have any questions, you can just raise your hand, blurt it out. Thank you, sir.
Where's the film going to be available? It's going to be easily put down to a 30-second commercial.
So the question is, where is this film going to be available, and is it going to be in a 30-second commercial spot? I can answer part of it. That yes, it is. There already is a 30-second commercial made from that. We just wanted to show you the bigger version.
The 30-second commercial is airing on a variety of networks, and the point of the commercial is to push people to myccs.org, which is where the film lives. And then that will in turn have a link going to our website, so people can find out a little bit more and then a little bit more. And that's part of the strategy that Fran helped us put together as far as accessing and then as far as getting them to the film eventually. The 30 seconds is kind of a shortened version to kind of whet people's appetite.
Any others? I can't see anything now. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
How will foreign language for middle school be implemented? Is it going to be extracurricular, will it be text and teacher, or how are they going to?
Okay, so the question is, how will the foreign language program in the middle school be implemented, whether it's going to be an in-class experience, virtual, that type of thing?
It would be in-class experience with a teacher, part of the elective program. Again, it's an interesting question because you're thinking from just eduees to look at it from a longer term, and I've already started looking at it over 3 years, but it'll probably be offered to 6th through 8th next year. I haven't decided if it's going to be a year-long course or a semester-long course. Again, we're just in the process now of putting some things down on paper and talking to folks, but it would be face-to-face. Does that answer?
It's not for sure for sixth grade yet.
No, but the idea right now is that it would be offered to all the 6th through 8th grade as a group, okay? Which again, lends some complications to it, but that's not your problem.
Yes.
Yes, I understand that Mr. Pinson's going to be doing the headmaster internship
So the question is, we have David as our interim headmaster, but then what about secondary leadership, and will he still be doing that? And
Yes. In so many words, what we're doing is reallocating personnel, redeploying personnel to give Dave more assistance in the leadership of the secondary program, so that he'll have some more time that he can free up to do the headmaster, the interim headmaster role. It's a great question.
yes.
I'm highly encouraged by the added Spanish foreign language option. Is it going to be, if it is determined that it's a year-long offer for a year, will that mean that it gives, will it be eligible for high school credit? There's so much, whether students are here at CCS or, you're called to another school, I think, the push for credits, kids coming in to excel in either math or other sciences or, multiple years of foreign languages and making more, favorably by colleges. I'm just curious what, my son will be in eighth grade next year, what are the courses that might lend to give him high school credit, wherever.
So the question is whether that the Spanish experience, the Spanish coursework, will be able to get high school credit for Spanish, which is important as you go on toward post-secondary education.
In the interim period, the answer to that question is no. It would be an enrichment. In our program, and I know you're talking about other programs, in our program, we already offer 3 years of Spanish face-to-face. And we have an optional semester for a 4th year of Spanish for those that want it in their senior year. If you have 3 years of Spanish, or 3 years of a foreign language in general, and you're trying to get into a college, most colleges see that very favorably. And as a matter of fact, if you want to get into a competitive school, you got to have 2 years minimum. So in our program currently, we already offer more than sufficient amounts of Spanish credits in the high school to get kids into competitive schools. That doesn't mean, however, that would never be the case. It's just in the fall, taking the step towards actually developing the program and doing it well. The first offering is going to be just an enrichment. Does that answer your question?
I can tell one interesting thing. As I talked about the interest toward competency-based education rather than credits, actually the minimum requirements for the state university system in Florida has changed as far as foreign language. That now the minimum requirement isn't necessarily just 2 years of a foreign language. In essence, it's competency at the second level. So if a student comes in and shows competency at that second level, whether or not they have the 2 credits, they've met that admission requirement for foreign language. Also, community colleges, for students pursuing an associate in arts degree, will take foreign language as a part of that AA degree. So I think that the trend now is seeing the value of that foreign language.
Just to piggyback on that real quick, it's important to note that that's one of the really unique things about CCS's foreign language program in Spanish. We're the only school in the district that teaches Spanish conversationally. And that's why they won at the Expo. And the judges at the Expo, including FSU professors, said, good. We actually want these kids to be able to speak the language, not just read Cervantes. And so I just want to point that out because that's actually a huge plus for CCS in the foreign language program. It also helps a lot on mission trips too.
And for those of us who cannot read Cervantes. Any other questions? Yes.
I have a question. Tom has been very critical in the leadership program with our high school. Is David taking that position in the leadership program in the interim, or is there someone else that's like that?
So the question is, Tom, who we all know has been such an integral part and vital part of the leadership program, whether David will take over that role or other people will fill in or step in to fulfill some of those roles in our leadership program.
David is going to take up bungee jumping as a part. It has been a great privilege to be a part of the leadership program. One of the great things is that the leadership program under Jeff's leadership this year, because I've stepped back a lot from the leadership of the leadership program, and Jeff has done a fabulous job this year. So I would expect that moving forward, that Jeff would be the person who would really be the point person for the leadership program. And we're also recruiting more people, more staff people, that kind of thing, to be a part of that, to assist him with that. The main thing I think to know is that the leadership program is here to stay. It's an integral part of what we do.
I just want to make sure everybody knew who the Schendels were. I know there's a lot of new families here that never maybe were introduced to them and understand their importance to our school.
They really more of a comment. If people don't know Hal and Marilyn Schendel, the founders, just pillars. I had the opportunity when I came on as board president to have lunch with Mr. Schendel, Dr. Schendel, and I don't think I've ever had a better time at Chili's. I don't care how good the food is. It was church there. And so for the Schendel, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand or standing, just people should know just how important and valuable they've been and continue to be to our school.
Anything I've ever accomplished was God's work, not mine. I've known to be inadequate in most things. That's prayer. That's why I used to. It's not me.
Well, thank you for your appreciation. I don't accept any of that as credit of something I have done. I am known to be inadequate in everything I try, except prayer, which keeps me in touch conversationally with God. I'm so glad I learned that thing one day, that you can talk to God and He'll talk back to you. Now you have to learn how to do that, because it's not language conversation, but it is conversation. The first time He said something to me, I was so overwhelmed, I just, wow. The next time I said, oh, you know what you do? You can respond back. And so I'm learning how to do that. And I've always been sort of mystical, I guess you could say. As a college kid, I learned about the mystics, and I thought, well, that's cool. And then they said, no, there's a danger. I thought, there's a danger? Okay. So I don't want to be a mystic in a bad sense, but a mystic in a supernatural sense. See, there is a natural and then there's a supernatural. Some of us, we all live here for a while, and then we'll go there later, forever. And we can walk in that way now. Jesus said the kingdom has come, and it's in you, and you can do that. You can have that supernatural relationship, and that's kingdom on earth. The other thing I'm good at is crying for you. You already picked up on that, I guess. Yeah, whenever I sense this presence of God, I have to cry. So the story of my life is a long one, and I won't go there, but He took me to Africa for the first 30 years of my life to get stuff out of me, just like He did Moses. I always wondered about Moses. What a waste of time that was. And I went through one of those. I'm not Moses. I'm not leading anybody out there. But came back from Africa, I thought we were going to die there. And we were there 4 years. Either I was going to die early or I was wrong. And it took me 10 years after I got back to figure out what the heck went on. God, I said, what happened? I prepared my whole life to go to Africa and serve and die. And he said, that ain't it, Schendel. What is it? He said, what I want from you is to meet you every morning in your prayer closet. And we can kind of talk about the day. Wow, that's different. I realized I could have served God in the way I wanted to, and this I could do, and what it was turning things over to Him, and letting Him do more and more in my life. And it's amazing, after I had that relationship, how things started to go better for me. And I realized, I think I hit on something here. He wants to work through us, not sit back and watch us work for Him. And that's big for me. So when I go to meetings, I'm supposed to speak or something, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just say, now Lord, you know me. If you don't come, we're in trouble. As Moses said, if you don't go up, we're not going up. I got that one right. And it's amazing, just that simple prayer. And wow, I can do it. Because He's doing it through me. And He's very good at that, if you let him do it. How many hours are we going to have? I'm sorry, they didn't tell me. I would have been better prepared.
All right, follow that up. Any other questions? Like I said, we will capture these questions, other questions that I know that people have had, make those available, as well as the video will be, I will say, available through our website. Vance is nodding, so absolutely, we can do that. So I yeah, no, I'm not going to follow that. Are you kidding me? I just want to say, Tom will say a final word. I just want to thank you for coming. This is, I myself and the board, we're fellow parents. You know us, you've seen us, and I look out on these faces, and I look out on the faces, and actually I don't really see you, I see your children. And I see the effect your children have on my children, and that's a good thing. But it's just an amazing place. The sweet atmosphere at CCS, which is just palpable. You can walk on campus, and it's just, it presses you. The teaching that goes on, it's something that I wouldn't trade, and it's something that I value and will sacrifice for to keep that going.
I'll leave you with John 16:33. In the world you will have tribulation. This is a tough time to be a school. There are a million choices. As Matt said, education is going through cataclysmic changes. But the second part of that verse says, but I have overcome the world. Be of good cheer. In 1977, God placed His lampstand of His presence at Community Christian School. And it's still there. By His grace. And by His grace, it will remain there. And more lives will be transformed. Let's pray. Father, we thank You so much for this evening. Just ask for a blessing tonight on everybody that came. For those who are going to be watching this at home, Father, I just ask a blessing on them as well. And I pray that as we leave this place, we'd be encouraged, and we would be encouraged as well to open our mouths and testify to others about God and about this school. We love you, Lord, and we thank you for being present with us in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.